going to just quickly answer a couple of questions here. The ones that just kind of jumped out at me. So no offense to anybody, maybe if you asked a question and I didn't see it, like this is just me answering what's the stuff that kind of jumped out at me. What do you mean it's worse if someone starts making money right away out of the gate, you know, as opposed to losing money? Referring to landlords, okay, guys buying houses and then all of a sudden jumping in. What do I mean by that? Okay, well, let me just kind of explain it this way. Let's say a gambling addict walks into a casino and he plunks down 20 bucks and he loses it, right? Okay, that doesn't hurt the gambling junkie. He loses 20 bucks, he goes on his way, right? That doesn't fuel anything. What's actually worse is gambling junkie plunks down 20 bucks, wins 20 bucks. And all of a sudden he's like, whoa. Now that's when the endorphins kick in, right? All of the feel-good receptors all kick in. All the stuff that Simon Sinek talks about, all that stuff kicks in, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, then now they're high again. So now it's let it ride. Now make more money, make more money, make more. And what's worse is they start winning more and more and more. And then what ends up happening is that it works until it doesn't. As with all strategies, because markets change. Everybody wants a free market until they get a free market, right? I mean, like I've noticed this about people. They want a free market, they want the benefits of a free market, but as soon as the market goes against them, they want communism, or they want socialism, or they want a bailout, or something like that. It happens all the time. So all of a sudden, you know, now the guy is you know, our gambling junkie, right? He's up, you know, $500 off his 20 bucks. Endorphins are riding high. He's just flying. He's not even on this planet anymore. And then he starts losing. And he starts losing, he starts losing, he starts losing, he starts losing, and then he starts losing more than his 500. And now all of a sudden, what's the mentality? I just got to get even. And that's what ends up happening. So that's why I say it's actually worse if you just start off and you immediately, you know, right out of the gate, start making a bunch of home runs financially. And especially when you consider, like, and I've seen some of these numbers. In fact, actually, I'm not picking on anybody. I'm really not picking on anybody. I'm just telling you, I'm going to give you my professional opinion. Okay, both my professional and my personal opinion, in fact, which is that if you're telling me you are making $300 a month in positive cash flow, but you are exposed to a $500,000 note, that is one hell of a lot of risk to take to make $300 to $500 a month. That, I mean, I would just tell you, dude, you're out of your mind to take that kind of risk. That's crazy. I know truck drivers that won't take loads because the risk of them taking the load. This is just a load of whatever on the back of their truck, because it doesn't pay enough, because they look at that and go, dude, that's not worth the risk. I mean, I get one ticket, you know, from DOT, from some overzealous, crazy DOT guy, and all of a sudden my entire profit's gone. So when I hear these numbers, it's like, as with a lot of people, I run into this a lot, where they'll throw out these numbers. Oh, but I'm getting $3,500 a month in rent, and my you know, and it's like, okay, that's great. What is your net out? You know, after you pay your property management, your maintenance, because everybody forgets maintenance until they forget maintenance until they don't. And then all of a sudden, they get a plumber who shows up and goes, oh, well, you know, aside from the sheetrock damage, you've got, you know, $4,000 worth of plumbing that we got to fix, you know, and then you need to call your sheetrock guy, and then possibly your flooring guy, who also needs to take, like, and it spirals out of control for this. And you can say, oh, well, but insurance, and I realize there's going to be a whole bunch of, you know, guys who say the anecdotal stuff. I'm talking about generics, and, you know, so if you're taking in $3,500, but like, well, are you occupied 100% of the time? Or did you leave 3 months, 25% for vacancy to factor into your profits? I'm old school in this stuff. Like, I look at the numbers for what they really should be as a businessman and go, most people are like, you're taking one hell of a risk to make not anywhere near enough money that I wouldn't consider any of these things. And especially to take on some of these huge notes, you know, these $300,000 and $400,000 notes to make $300-400 a month. You're just better off doing something. Seriously, you are better off doing anything. You're better off fixing cars in your driveway. You're better off doing almost anything than that, in my view, because then you're not exposing yourself to an enormous amount of risk to make what, in my view, would not be enough money to justify that. And by the way, that's all quoted in dollars. I'm not, you know, and I realize the dollar is, you know, nonsense. Anyway, next one. What if the government pays the rents for the tenants? This is the Section 8 argument. Like, well, I mean, if you want to do that, that's fine. I mean, you still deal with all the problems that go along with all that. But I would also point out, like, well, that just means that everything is becoming more and more subsidized. This happened in the Soviet Union. I know that the Roman Empire is, and by the way, I recommend The Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire by Gibbon. It's a great book series. I think you should read it. But let's be real here. Just look at the Soviet Empire. That's a lot more recent. You can just look at that, and this is the kind of thing that happened there. Is that this became one of these things, like they pretend to pay us, we pretend to work, kind of thing. And what happens is as it becomes more and more and more subsidized, you become less and less and less attached to what's going on in the greater economy, right? So I've said this for years. I mean, small business is how you gauge the health of your economy. And real estate or home ownership is how you gauge the health of your people, right? So like there's the business aspect of people, and then there's the personal aspect of people. And if you want to gauge their health, you look at how those two things are looking. And most small businesses are fading fast, and real estate and home ownership is is fading fast for a lot of people. This is causing problems to do this. So, and it's causing huge societal problems. Not to weigh in on the culture war too much on this. I'm just telling you the truth. This is just what's happening. So I'm not saying you're bad for taking Section 8 money or government money. I'm not saying that. Do whatever you want to do. But just keep in mind, don't be surprised don't be surprised as society continues to deteriorate. Your complaint's going to fall on deaf ears for me, at least. So why would I sell my rentals, that are paid for? You probably wouldn't, actually. If they're paid for, if you bought rental properties like 15 years ago and you paid them off in 15 years, which, I mean, if you did all that stuff and you got them at the right price, no, you wouldn't sell them off. You would keep them, and you would keep your rents in check with what the market could actually afford without squeezing your tenants to the point of they can't survive anymore. Remember, that's not exactly a healthy relationship if you're just trying to squeeze every penny out of people because you made a shitty business decision and because you didn't know how to buy right. In other words, you overpaid, in my view. And I'm not going to get into the price gouging argument because it's a different. I'm saying, in my view, I think you're overpaying because if you're going outside of the market of what the market can actually comfortably pay, well, then you've overpaid. So, and it becomes greater fool theory, right? You're trying to make somebody else a fool for your stupidity. That's it. So, maintenance vacancy. So, yeah, I mean, and to close off, all I would say is this. For those of you who paid a lot of money for these houses and got yourself into this stuff, I have a measure of empathy for you, especially for folks who didn't really know this, but think about it this way. If someone came to you and told you that they borrowed a bunch of money from a bank with interest to go buy GameStop at its peak, right? We'll use GameStop. They're in the news. They went to buy the stock in GameStop at the peak of the market, and then all of a sudden it came down on them, right? You would look at them and say, dude, you're crazy. Why did you borrow a bunch of money to buy GameStop at the peak? Well, real estate is the same thing. I see it the same way. Real estate doesn't always go up. I know that it has to look like it's always going up, right? This is why you have a bunch of agents and brokers that are constantly saying, no, it's the greatest time to buy and everything. You've got something like, 1.5 million, 2 million properties for sale, right? And you've got 2.5 million agents and brokers. Like, that's not sustainable. I mean, you got to be kidding me. So, of course, like I said in a previous video, banks always have to have these prices look like they're going up because of their balance sheet. So instead, it's supposed to be coming down. You're supposed to be seeing all of this stuff coming down now, and it should have happened in 2008, but instead we bailed everybody out. So we live in the aftermath of that. This is your post-apocalyptic world. We just don't have the cool wardrobe, so there you go.